Good afternoon. This is the meeting of the Middlesex County Ethics Board. My name is David Hill and I'm the chairman. And this meeting has been duly advertised and we are starting at 2 p.m. and I would ask that we do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please. Mayor, would you lead us?
Sure. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Everyone just make sure their mics are on also. Button in front. You'll see it's green.
Great.
I think it's actually yours, a little bit temperamental.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yours.
I think
I think it's yours. Just press it one more time. Yeah. It's off now.
Mine's not on, but
You get picked up by that.
Yeah, just speak
Fine.
into that.
Notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10-6 has been complied with and shall be entered upon the minutes. Bridget, can we have a roll call, please?
Lisa Chaplin. Here. Robert Dudash.
Present.
Daniel Frankel.
Present.
David Himmelman.
Present.
Albert Musiker.
Present.
Robert Cedar.
Present.
Thank you. I will next move to the approval of the minutes of January 30th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Bridget, we could do, I guess, a roll call.
Okay. Lisa Chaplin.
Yes, Dana wasn't here.
Okay. Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musiker.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The approval of the minutes is carried. We have several items on for old business involving 3 separate complaints. And my understanding is based on advice of our attorney that we need to go into closed session to discuss those matters before making a determination on those complaints. The first matter, Mr. Vignola has indicated that since the complaint has been filed against himself, that we will have our, I guess, county counsel's office. Nikki, you're gonna handle that in closed session,
Yes,
correct?
that's
Okay,
correct.
great. So we will need a motion to go into closed session. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to go in closed session?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Want to do a roll call, please?
Lisa Chaplin.
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musiker.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we will be, go out and close?
I mean, go back into open.
Yes. Great. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second on that?
Second.
We could just do we don't have to do a roll call. We could just say yay or nay. Just all acknowledge you're willing to go back into open session by saying yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. We are now back in open session. We are going to first handle the consideration of the complaint filed by Charles Cravital against Mr. Vignola, who, as you know, is our attorney for the Ethics Board. We have had an opportunity to review an investigation report that was prepared under our Senior Deputy Counsel's jurisdiction, if you will, and research. And we also have had the opportunity to speak to our counsel in closed session to discuss the nature of the complaint filed against Mr. Vignola and the opinions that were offered by the county counsel, by the Senior Deputy County Counsel on this. Based upon the investigation report and the advice of counsel, the determination that she has indicated is that the complaint filed against Vignola is without any reasonable basis to sustain any ethics violation against our Ethics Board attorney pursuant to the local government ethics law, and recommends that the complaint be dismissed in accordance with the investigation report, which after, should this matter be disposed of today, the investigation report will be public and you will be able to provide a copy of that to members of the public. With that said, do I have a recommendation, as I've outlined, with regard to the complaint against Mr. Vignola, recommending dismissal in accordance with the investigation report? Do I have a motion to dismiss that action?
So.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Lisa Chaplin,
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musicar.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That matter is disposed of. And now I will need a motion to go into closed session to discuss the other two complaints that are on our agenda for this afternoon. Do I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Lisa Chaplin.
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musicar.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We are now back in the room. Could we have a motion to go back into open session, please?
Make a motion to go to open session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A roll call, please.
Yep. Lisa Chaplin.
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musicar.
Yes.
And Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Back in open session. So there are two other matters under old business. One is, and we're going to take these individually, consideration by this board of the complaint of Charles Gravel against Thomas Kelso, our Middlesex County Council. And we've discussed in closed session, and there were two items that were presented to us, including an investigative report, and Mr. Vignola has briefed us on that. I would just ask you to basically summarize and make your recommendations to this board. Thank you.
As a result of the investigation that was performed and the report that I submitted to you, the recommendation is that there was no reasonable basis, factual reasonable basis for the complaint to proceed based upon the facts that have been determined. And the recommendation is that the complaint be dismissed. It also, that's governed under your ordinance, which also parallels the statute in section 5.03 and 5.09, particularly 5.09 insofar as the allegation refers to Mr. Kelso's son as being a member of DEFCO.
Thank you, Mr. Vignola. So is it your recommendation that the board adopt a resolution dismissing the complaint in accordance with your report?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would like to have a motion to adopt that recommendation, please.
So.
Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Lisa Chaplin.
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Yes.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musicar.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The motion carries, and again, as in the other complaint, the investigative report will be available to the public upon conclusion of today. Thank you. The next item is consideration by this board of the complaint by Charles Gravel against Andrew Carey, the Middlesex County Prosecutor. And again, we've had an opportunity to discuss this matter in closed session with our counsel, and it went over the findings of his investigation report, and I would like Mr. Vignola to summarize that and make his recommendation, please.
Again, with respect to the complaint against Mr. Carey, the investigation revealed that there were circumstances that would negate any reasonable expectation of a violation of the ordinance. Mr. Carey sought opinion of county counsel with respect to his filing of his financial statement, and also a statute that I referred to in my report of NJSA 47:1-17 specifically permits non-disclosure of certain personal information of a law enforcement officer, such as his residence. Based upon those items, as well as the investigation of what was omitted, it's my recommendation that the board determined that there was no violation, no reasonable expectation of the basis for a complaint to stand.
Thank you, Mr. Vignola. Based upon Mr. Vignola's recommendation, I would like a motion to adopt a resolution dismissing the complaint against Mr. Carey.
So.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Lisa Chaplin.
Yes.
Robert Dudash.
Abstain.
Daniel Frankel.
Yes.
David Himmelman.
Yes.
Albert Musicar.
Yes.
Robert Cedar.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
If I may, I apologize. The record should reflect that Mr. Dudash absented himself from any deliberations regarding this because he's a law enforcement officer and felt that he had the obligation to do that. So he was not present during any consideration of the report or the discussion by board members.
Thank you, Mr. Vignola, for that. That concludes the item 6 under the agenda of old business. We do have new business and correspondence. It's amended complaint of Charles Gravel against Thomas Kelso and John Palomino, County Administrator. Mr. Vignola, I believe you would like to address that for the board, please.
I would. I have received and reviewed the complaint. It was forwarded to me by for the secretary, and the complaint is identical, virtually identical in almost every respect with respect to the allegations against Mr. Kelso, which this board has just ruled upon. The only changes were very minor changes in which Mr. Cradaville has now also asserted a separate complaint, in my mind, against Mr. Polomina, because he says it's an he calls this an amended complaint, and he wants to add Mr. Polomina as a party to the Kelso complaint. Since this board has already adjudicated the allegations with respect to Mr. Kelso, it would be my recommendation that this complaint be dismissed, or not dismissed, but rejected as procedurally deficient, in that it seeks to put a new defendant or a new person against whom a complaint has been made into an existing complaint that's already been adjudicated. So I would recommend that this complaint be returned as insufficient or dismissed without prejudice with the ability to refile it. We have no procedure for an amended complaint. There is no amended complaint provided for in the ordinance. And this was just received, and so we're responding to it. The date, it's dated June the 7th, so obviously it's very newly filed. But rather than burden the record with a complaint that's called an amended complaint, when the principal complaint has already been adjudicated, my recommendation is that it be dismissed without prejudice and with the direction that it can be refiled if it's sought to be refiled.
Fine, thank you, Mr. Miller. Based upon council's recommendation, do I have a motion to dismiss this amended complaint without prejudice and return it to Mr. Cradaville? Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Lisa Chaplin?
Yes.
Robert Dudash?
Yes.
Daniel Frankel?
Yes.
David Immelman?
Yes.
Albert Busicker?
Yes.
Robert Cedar?
Yes.
Thank you. The recommendation and motion carries. Additional action by the board if warranted. I'm not aware of any additional actions at this time. Bridget, am I correct?
Yes, I will.
Okay. I will now open the meeting up to the public for comment. Mr. Cradaville, good afternoon.
Should I sit here, or is that microphone for
Yeah,
me?
you can, it should be able to pick up if you stand
I would
anywhere
suggest
around here.
there since the mic will pick you up.
Good enough,
Yeah.
thank you.
Just speak loud.
Members of the board, Charles Cradaville, resident of New Brunswick, editor of New Brunswick Today community newspaper. I'm a candidate for mayor of the great city of New Brunswick, and I want to thank you for investigating my complaints. Also want to welcome the new member and congratulate you and thank you for your service, and also thank Mr. Dudash for stepping aside on the complaint against the prosecutor. I think that was the right thing to do. I was told that there would be some answers to my questions in my letter of February 9th, and this was the place to come to get those answers. I didn't exactly hear any answers to those questions.
And just refresh my recollection, what letter are you referring to?
On February 2nd, Mr. Vignolo sent me a letter demanding that I, quote, immediately withdraw my complaint against him. And it was unclear to me whether he was sending that letter in his capacity as the defendant or as the representative of the board. I was concerned about this, and I did amend my complaint to include that. I still haven't gotten those answers. I believe you sent me a letter telling me that you have the answers here.
Well, I'll let Mr. Vignolo respond,
Yeah,
but generally I would say that I'm not sure it's relevant at this point any further since the matter, the ethics complaint you filed against Mr. Vignolo has now been disposed of, but certainly Mr. Vignolo, if you'd like to address that.
Yeah,
that's
well,
fine.
I would certainly like to indicate that any letter that I wrote to Mr. Cradaville regarding the complaint against me was written in my individual capacity, not as a member, not as a counsel for this board. My letter was written because under the laws of the state of New Jersey, if you think that you've been slandered or libeled, you should make a demand for the dismissal of the complaint, and that's exactly what I did, so that Mr. Cradaville would be on notice that in the event that he did dismiss the complaint and wanted to go forward, that there may be further repercussions as a result of his action. That was the purpose of my letter. It had nothing to do with this board's action or comment.
Thank you, Mr. Vignolo. I think that addresses your question.
Okay. And so just for the record, because I have not had the chance to hear from Mr. Vignolo as to whether or not he is indeed a board member at Brunswick Bank and Trust, and whether or not that's a paid position.
In the context of your allegations in your complaint against Mr. Vignolo, we've addressed all of the allegations in the complaint, including his role as a member of the bank board that you've indicated, and of course you heard our determination today So I'm not sure at this point there's anything further to discuss.
So, just to be clear, he won't admit whether or not he's a board member, or, I mean, it's public information, I'm pretty sure he is a board member. The question is he
I
paid
think the
to do
answer
it?
to all of your questions will be in the investigation report, which you'll get a copy of.
Okay, well, having not seen that, and knowing that this board doesn't meet again till December.
The answer
I
is
wanted to-
yes, he is a member of the bank board,
Thank you.
but we've addressed that in the allegations in your complaint as to whether or not there are violations under the state ethics law.
Okay, so paid or unpaid?
Can I make a very brief statement?
Sure.
I explained in my letter to Mr. Credible as an attorney and a member of the law firm that he has no idea as to what happens with respect to revenues that are received. I am the attorney for this board. I receive funds that are paid to me individually by this board. Those funds are not my funds. I'm an attorney, and my firm receives anything that I earn. Anything I receive as a member of the board of directors of the bank is on office time, it goes to the firm. Anything I receive as attorney for the Middlesex County Vocational Schools comes to me individually, it goes to my firm. If a private client writes me a check to my order, it doesn't come to me. I'm an attorney who's a member of a firm, and under my employment agreement, everything I earn goes to that firm. I receive funds from the firm.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you spoke very fast, I just wanted to understand. Any payments from the bank for your service as a board member
Are turned over to his law firm.
go to the
Go
law
to
firm?
the law firm, correct.
Okay, it's an interesting arrangement. Nevertheless, my point still stands that I believe that he should have listed Brunswick Bank and Trust under item D of the financial disclosure form, which says list the name and address of all business organizations in which an interest is held.
It's not an interest.
It's not an interest, does he own
It's
shares?
not within the, it's not,
I own shares in J&J as well. I don't list that.
I think that after you read the investigation, I understand we're not going to have a meeting for 6 months, but I think all of your questions are going to be answered in that report.
Well,
But you're free to continue, but I wanted to let you know we're not hiding anything from you. You're going to have all that information in the report.
okay, just to be clear, all three investigation reports will be available
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah, Bridget can give you copies.
Great, well, I'll review them, and, I do want to thank you for evaluating the complaints,
Sure.
because you serve an important function, and,
That's our job.
I hope that we can continue to strive to make our county better, and thanks for your time today.
Our pleasure. Any board members would like to add anything before I ask for a motion to adjourn? Any other comments? Okay. With that said, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So.
Second. Bridget, the roll call.
Lisa Chaplin?
Yes.
Robert Dudash?
Yes.
Daniel Frankel?
Yes.
David Himmelman?
Yes.
Albert Musicar?
Yes.
Robert Cedar?
Yes.
Terrific. Motion is adjourned, and I guess the next meeting, Bridget will be duly noticed, but for everyone's benefit, maybe we'll get an email from you, correct?
Oh, yes, of
Okay,
course.
great. All right, cool. Yeah.